This case happened in the 1990s. At that time, the police received a call from the public reporting that a corpse was found by the lake in the water park. When we arrived at the scene, the police officers from the nearby police station and the auxiliary police had already been there and cordoned off the area. At that time, I was still an apprentice. Officer Jing in our bureau took me, his apprentice, into the main entrance of the park and walked along the path on the left. By the lake, we found the male corpse. His hands and feet were tied up with ropes. Half of his body was soaked in the water. He was lying face down, with flies all over him that couldn't be driven away. His body was swollen and turned pale, looking a bit fatter than normal. The person who reported the case was a child. Based on the analysis of the scene, it was definitely a criminal case. It was impossible for someone to tie his own hands like that if it was a suicide. Then the next procedure was to identify the victim. The police officers in charge of that area went to the nearby bungalows to ask if there were any missing men. Later, they went to a household where a woman from other places was staying. That woman said that her husband had been away from home for 2 days, so she was asked to come and identify the body. As soon as the woman saw it, she knew it was her husband. She was stunned at first, and then burst into tears when she came to her senses. She cried that she had thought her husband was fooling around with other women, but she never expected that he died here. She also sobbed about how hard her life was and how bad her husband was. Then the police asked her to provide information about her husband's activities outside and which woman he was involved with. The wife began to act a bit mentally abnormal and talked incoherently. My master, an experienced police officer, walked around the bungalow where the woman lived. Then he asked his subordinates to take the woman to the police station. After interrogation, the woman confessed that she had an affair with a rag picker from nearby. The two of them plotted together to get rid of her husband. They lured her husband to the water park, knocked him unconscious, stripped him naked, tied up his limbs, and tied a stone to him to sink him into the lake. However, there was a sharp spike on the wire used to tie the stone. A child who was swimming dived underwater, and the spike stabbed the child's foot. The curious child then found a stick to poke at the thing underwater. Also, the stone was tied rather loosely. They must have been in a rush at that time, and the stone separated from the body. The corpse swelled up underwater and then floated to the surface and was discovered by people. Later, I asked my master how he had been so sure that the wife was suspicious at the beginning. My master said that when he went to her home, he saw that the stove was burning very vigorously. At that time, in the bungalows near the water park in Tianjin, there was no gas yet, and people usually cooked by burning stoves at home, which was not strange in itself. But the strange thing was that it was in the morning in summer and it wasn't time to cook lunch yet. So why was the stove burning so brightly? My master then looked behind the stove and saw a wet shoe print on the wall that was almost dried. It seemed that he realized something. Then he looked under the bed and found a pair of wet men's leather shoes. And he understood it all. Later, it was analyzed that the man's leather shoes were newly bought. Leather shoes were quite expensive at that time. Presumably, all of the man's clothes had been destroyed, but the wife was so reluctant to part with the leather shoes that she didn't throw them away. She wanted to dry them by the stove for her lover to wear, and that's how she gave herself away.